All right, everybody, get your engines fired up. It's time for Lights Out, Let's Chat.
Okay, quick question. What do you get when you combine a track where mistakes are punished instantly, drivers pushing right on the edge, and a championship that is getting tighter every single race? That's right, you get Canada. And if you're new to Formula One, this is one of those races you don't want to skip. Because Canada, it creates chaos. We're talking walls that are way too close, drivers pushing limits every single lap, and races that can flip in seconds. And this year, it feels even bigger. Because now you've got a rising star starting to dominate, multiple teams fighting at the top, and momentum shifting almost every single weekend. So, we're breaking it all down. Why Canada is so unpredictable, what we've learned from the last few races, who this track actually favors, and what could decide the race. Because if Miami was chaos, Canada might be worse. Alright, let's start simple. Why is Canada such a big deal? Well, at this track, it's super fast but technical. It's simple yet unforgiving. If you're new, here's what matters. This track is made up of long straights, heavy braking zones, and tight corners, which basically means you need a car that can do everything well. Canada is famous for one thing, walls. And not just any walls. Walls that drivers hit a lot. Especially one in particular, the Wall of Champions. It's called that because even the best drivers have crashed into it. So yeah, nobody is safe. Unlike some tracks where you can make mistakes and recover, Canada punishes you instantly. Miss your braking point, you're in a wall. Go slightly wide, race over. This track does reward precision, confidence, and bravery, but it punishes hesitation, overdriving, and small mistakes. Now, before we even get into predictions, we need to talk about where the season stands right now. Because this isn't just another race. This is a momentum race. What we've seen currently is coming out of Miami. The field is close. We've got Mercedes winning races, McLaren looking incredibly fast, Ferrari showing flashes, but inconsistent. And Red Bull, they are not fully dominant. So for the new fans, normally in F1, one team dominates. Not right now. Right now, multiple teams can win. And that makes everything unpredictable. And then there's one big name we have to talk about. Kimi Antonelli. And you're probably wondering, Michaela, why does he matter? Well, he already has multiple wins. He's strong under pressure. He's been super consistent. And honestly, that's championship level driving. At this point, the rest of the grid is like, can we slow this down just a little bit? Let's break down the track a little bit deeper. Because Canada might look simple, it's actually not. There's some huge key sections on this track. Number one, the long straights. Great for overtaking. Slipstream definitely matters. Two, heavy braking zones. Big overtaking opportunities, but easy to lock up. A lockup is when tires stop rotating under braking. You lose control and you slide forward. Basically, the car says, I'm not stopping anytime soon. Of course, this track has quick left-right turns. It requires precision, and you can easily hit the curbs wrong. The type of car you need that will win here is strong brakes, good straight line speed, and stability under pressure. So what actually decides Canada? Let's break it down. Number one, braking performance. This track is hard on brakes. If your brakes aren't perfect, you're in trouble. Number two, tire management. Even though it's not the hottest track, tires still matter. Too aggressive? Well, you lose grip late race. 3, strategy. Pit timing is huge. Undercut equals powerful here. An undercut is you pit early, fresh tires, go faster, and you jump positions. Basically, leave first, come back ahead. Number 4, safety cars. Canada almost always has them, which means strategy can flip instantly. Now, let's talk about the drivers, because this track is mentally exhausting. Why? Well, you're constantly braking late, avoiding walls, managing tires. Qualifying matters a lot. Starting position equals huge advantage for the race. Starting mid-pack in Canada is basically good luck surviving. Okay. Prediction time. What do I expect? Well, a safety car. Definitely at least once. At least one mistake from a top driver. Strategy deciding the win. Contenders, Antonelli. Super consistent. McLaren, raw pace. Red Bull, experience. Ferrari, potential but risky. If everything goes smoothly, which it won't. Alright, time for question of the week. And this one is a little bit controversial. Does Canada expose who's actually elite, or does it expose who's just in a good car? Because in Formula 1, we always hear this debate. Is it the driver, or is it the car? And honestly, most of the time, it's both. But Canada makes that question a lot more interesting. Let's start here, because if you're new to Formula 1, this might sound confusing. In F1, the car matters a lot. Different teams have different budgets. They have different technology, different performance levels. So, sometimes a driver looks amazing, but it's actually the car doing the work. You can have a great driver in a bad car, but then you're stuck in midfield. An average driver in a great car, you're near the front, which is why F1 fans argue about this all the time. Now here's where Canada changes things, because this track doesn't hide mistakes. Unlike some tracks where you can run wide and recover, Canada straight up is saying no. You make a mistake, you're in a wall. That means you can't rely on just having a fast car. You have to execute perfectly. Drivers are constantly braking at the limit, getting close to walls, managing traction out of the corners. This isn't a let the car do the work track. This is a don't mess this up track. So let's argue the first side. Yes, Canada does expose who's elite, because elite drivers stay consistent, avoid mistakes, perform under pressure. An elite driver in Canada hits braking points perfectly, stays out of the wall, manages the race, not just speed. Meanwhile, less experienced or less precise drivers overdrive the car, make small mistakes, lose control under pressure. And in Canada, a small mistake is not so small. It's basically a race over. So yeah, this track highlights driver skill more than most. But hold on, because it's not that simple. Even in Canada, you need straight line speed. You need braking stability. You need good traction. If your car is unstable under braking, you're more likely to lock up, more likely to miss corners, more likely to crash. So even elite drivers can struggle in the wrong car. You can be incredibly talented, but if your car says no grip today, good luck. So here's the truth, and it's somewhere in the middle. Canada doesn't remove the importance of the car, but it reduces how much the car can hide. On easier tracks, a great car can cover mistakes. In Canada, mistakes get exposed immediately. If you're in a great car but making mistakes, you won't win. If you're in a slightly worse car but driving perfectly, you can still compete. This track really levels things out, just a little bit. So, does Canada expose who's actually elite? Yes, but not completely. Canada doesn't separate drivers from cars. It separates clean drivers from mistake-prone ones. The best drivers here aren't just fast. They're controlled, they're precise, and they don't crack under pressure. Because in Canada, it's not about who can go the fastest for one lap. It's about who can survive the longest without messing up. Alright, let's get into F1 news of the week. Because honestly, this week isn't just about what's happening on the track. It's about where Formula 1 is going next. We've got a major rule change that could completely affect racing, some very unexpected Red Bull merch making headlines, and big rumors about what happens if Max Verstappen ever walks away from the sport. And trust me, that last one could shake up the entire grid. So, let's break it down. We're starting with the biggest story this week. The FIA is moving away from the 50-50 engine split in 2027. Now, if you're newer to F1, let me explain this simply, because this is actually a huge deal. Right now, Formula 1 engines are designed so that about 50% of the power comes from the combustion engine, and about 50% comes from electrical energy, basically the hybrid system. That's been a big focus for modern F1. Efficiency, stability, and advanced technology. But drivers are not loving it. Drivers have been pretty vocal lately. And the issue is, the cars don't always feel natural to drive. Power delivery can feel inconsistent, and it can actually hurt racing. Because instead of just pushing flat out, drivers are managing energy, lifting and coasting, thinking more about battery than racing. So now the FIA is stepping back from the 50-50 idea. They're looking at reducing the electrical power, bringing back more traditional engine feel, making racing more aggressive. This isn't just a small tweak. This changes how cars behave, how teams design their engines, and even which teams benefit the most. Because some teams have invested heavily in the hybrid tech, while others might benefit more from the traditional setup. And this connects to something even bigger, the long-term direction of Formula 1. There's been talk about simpler engines, louder engines, even potential V8-style discussions down the line, because F1 is trying to balance technology, stability, and entertainment. And right now, those three things don't always agree with each other. So here's the key takeaway. Formula 1 is adjusting, because if the racing doesn't feel right, they're willing to change it. And honestly, that's a big deal for the future of the sport. Okay, now we need to talk about something a little bit lighter. Because yes, Red Bull Racing partnered with Crocs. And somehow this became a whole movement. So what's going on? Red Bull released branded Crocs, and fans are confused, entertained, and somehow still buying them. Now you might be thinking, okay, but why is this F1 news? Well, here's why. Formula 1 teams are becoming lifestyle brands. It's not just about racing anymore. It's about merch, identity, fan culture. Teams like Red Bull understand something important. Fans don't just watch the sport anymore. They want to be a part of it. So now you've got clothing line, collaborations, and apparently Crocs. Because nothing says high-performance motorsport like comfortable foam shoes. This is a part of a bigger shift. F1 is becoming more main system, more lifestyle-driven, and more connected to the younger fans. So while it might seem random to most, it actually shows how much the sport is growing. Alright, now let's get into the big question this week. What happens if Max Verstappen leaves Formula 1? Because yes, there are real rumors and discussions happening. Let's be clear. Verstappen is one of the most important drivers in F1 right now. He's a multiple-time champion, one of the fastest drivers on the grid, and a key part of Red Bull's success. So, if he leaves, that's not just a driver change. That's a whole power shift. There are already names being discussed, drivers potentially in line, teams watching very closely, because a seat like that doesn't open often. From Red Bull Racing, this would be massive because right now their entire structure is built around Verstappen. So replacing him isn't just about speed, it's about leadership, consistency, and handling pressure. If this ever happens, Red Bull would need someone who can handle being the number one driver, delivering immediately, and manage expectations, because stepping into that seat is one of the hardest jobs in F1. And here's where it gets interesting. If Verstappen leaves, one move creates another, which creates another, and suddenly the entire grid can shift. It's like F1 musical chairs, except the chairs are worth millions, and your career depends on it. Even if it doesn't happen immediately, the fact we're even talking about it, that tells you something. Formula One is entering a transition period, and big changes might be coming sooner than we expected. So yeah, this week in Formula One, the FIA is already adjusting the future of the sport. Teams are expanding beyond racing. Yes, even into Crocs. And the driver market might be heading toward a major shakeup. Big takeaway, Formula One right now is evolving, expanding, and getting more unpredictable. Because in F1, it's never just about what's happening on track, it's about what's coming next. That's F1 News of the Week. If you enjoyed this, send it to someone who's getting into Formula One. And let me know. Alright, that is this week's episode. If you enjoyed this, send it to someone who's getting into Formula One. And let me know. Do you like the engine changes? Who would you replace Verstappen with? Do you think Canada exposes elite drivers? Or is it mostly about the car? And honestly, who do you trust more going into this race? The fastest driver or the most consistent one? Because in Formula One, just when you think you understand it, it changes. That is Lights Out, Let's Chat. See you next time.
From Lights Out to the Checkered Flag, this has been Lights Out, Let's Chat podcast. We'll see you next time.